What is going on, guys? Today we are looking at the best players in each position. We've got a lot to go through, so let's have a look. We're starting off with the goalkeepers, and to be honest, they haven't really changed that much since last time I was doing this. The new additions are obviously the shapeshifter goalkeeper, and also I realised I didn't even put Casillas in the last one. I'd say the standings for goalkeepers hasn't really changed. It all depends on, obviously, what team you're running. Icons will always give the full chem. The good thing about the shapeshifter goalkeeper is he is very, very cheap, but also because he is a premium shapeshifter, he gets the full chem as well already. He's an outfielder that's gone in net. Normally when I find new players like this, they tend to do quite well. I've personally not given him a load of games and I found him to be okay, but for me, always Van der Sar is going to be the number one. He naturally just is the best keeper. Loved always his prime, his mid, and I do think the team of the year still stands on top, but obviously that comes at a massive price of 1.4 mil. Whether I'd spend that, to be honest, a team of the season goalkeeper will do you just as good, to be honest. Obviously, you've got Edison Allison as the SBCs / objective for Edison, but then you also have Casillas and Yashin, both coming in at a fairly reasonable price each. Yashin that little bit more expensive, just purely for the fact that you are trying to get the hat, and also ter Stegen and Kobel, two team of the season shouts that, to be honest, are again very nice in their own league if you are obviously running a Bundesliga, a German, or obviously a La Liga team. We then move on to the fullbacks, who again, to be honest, I've added quite a few of these, and that's mainly down to the fact we have had a couple of shapeshifters involved as well as obviously the rest of the team of the season from the last time we did this, and to be honest, there's an absolute pull to go with here. A lot of different prices kind of flagging up. I must admit I did do the best meta defenders last week, and as we kind of went with, the right backs are really hard to know the best. I feel like there's so many good ones. I don't feel like there is a standalone best right back in the game. Like I said, make sure you comment down below if you have a favourite right back that you like. Personally, Hakimi definitely stands tall at a very hefty price, but a very good statted card from a long time ago now. Carfu, again, still racks up in that prime. I can imagine we will probably see a new version of him at some point, as obviously he's still yet to have any version extra like we've got from shapeshifters, trophy titans, and all of the rest of them. We then move on to the bench. We've got Di Lorenzo. Love this card. If you're running a Serie A or Italian team, or at least have the links, give him a try. So cheap and very, very reliable. And I do think a lot of these right backs can really do some damage in a 5-back formation as well. I personally think Di Lorenzo, Frimpong, James, and also, I thought there was another one. It probably is Hakimi then. I thought there was another one that I may have missed out. So let me know if you think I've missed out someone there. I thought there was another one. But in terms of right wing backs, are impeccable. The pace is up there. The defensive, the dribbling, the passing is all absolutely elite level. We then have a couple of shapeshifters in Orsolini, Zaha, and also Bamba as the right backs. Obviously Bamba being an objective that has gone now, but obviously is still there in kind of a good right back system, to be honest. I personally would say, if I'm going to pick out of the three of them, I would say Orsolini is the one that's really kind of given me the most out of it. Zaha was nice, but I felt like he was much better as a right mid. A right wing striker, a Zaha version of a 93 striker would have been way better. And I get shapeshifters is meant to be pushing the boat out, obviously. Left backs, there is definitely a fair few more that you could go with, but I must admit there is a fan favourite of mine. Bode, Zinchenko, very standard, very cheap between the two of them, and to be honest, a lot of them are very similar. I think Jordi Alba, with obviously the end of era, great SBC, I believe is still available as well, and definitely great for past and present Barca, La Liga, Spanish, obviously a very, very good SBC. Capdeville has been one of my favourites throughout the entirety of this year. He has definitely been overtaken this time, but I do think World Cup, this version, is still in the running. He may not be the best, but definitely can be a solid choice. To be honest, a more expensive price, and it's why I've kind of given Zinchenko, Baude, a bit of Nuno Mendes some time on here, because they are a lot cheaper, and most definitely if you're going to be going for any position to really upgrade, it would be your strikers, your centre-backs, your wingers, even your midfield. The fullbacks tend to be the last sort of position. Roberto Carlos, I feel like could do with an upgrade again. Again, it's just one of them things. Once he's been upgraded, you find yourself, you get an Alphonso Davies, you get yourself a Hernandez, a Capdeville, and again, he finds himself a little bit under the curve. Still a good left back, but most definitely needs another upgrade to keep up with some of these cards, because my personal favourites in Theo is number one in my opinion. Incredible card. Nuno Mendes as a Ligue 1 link as well, being very good himself. Capdevila as an incredible hero, and Alfonso as being Alfonso. All of them again, left wing back, bar from maybe Capdevila. I feel like the other three definitely with their pace could provide a great fullback position, especially in that left wing back role, whether you play it or not. I'd like to tell you about skycoach.gg. They offer many features within the FIFA franchise, from FIFA coins to FIFA Weekend League boosts, from trusted sellers, pro players, and are the best prices on the market currently. They have fast delivery, high quality services, lots of games, and also a cashback program. The more coins you buy, the more eligible you are for cashback options. So if you want to buy FIFA coins at the best price, click the link in the description of this video. It will be active promo code for 10% discount from my subscribers. All you have to use is the code JT11 at the checkout to receive this bonus. On to the video. We then move on to some of the centre backs. Again, some great additions to the list. Going from the bottom up, Tomori, incredible. Loved his winter wildcard. I think the step up to that moment was beautiful. A great 170k centre back. We then have a couple of shapeshifters, a few of them being SBCs in Martinez, Sorloth, and I want to say Guendouzi is the objective, which obviously is still available now, but time is running out if you've not started it. It is obviously winning 10 Shapeshifter Cup matches. Obviously, as it says, with 3 goalkeepers in your team, you can swap 2 of them out, and one of them can be the actual goalkeeper position. But we're on Wednesday, so you've got really today, well, I suppose the rest of today until 6 if you've not done any matches, tomorrow and the day after. If you don't get it done by when this video is out, then you've got 10 games to do it and only 10 to do it as well. So very, very hard to get him if obviously you've not already started it. Becker, another cracking centre-back. Very good on the outer position change. Obviously being more of an attacking player. Coming back into that defence, they really upgraded a lot of these shapeshifters. And I do think Ochoa is another great example of this. I do think all of the goalkeepers that have gone outfield, Neuer, Martinez, Ochoa, Bravo, they all have their own kind of boosted stats by the looks of it. It's very sus that they've kind of upgraded these goalkeepers and they're all very good. It doesn't take 2 and 2 to think maybe they upgraded them that little bit more in-game. Maybe they downgrade them once it's kind of finished. We'll see. Obviously, that is just conspiracy if you're even asking it, because most definitely these goalkeepers were definitely not as good as what they shape out to be. If we look at Ochoa now as a centre-back, pace-wise, doesn't compete at all to Militao, to Varane, to De Ligt, but in terms of actually in the game, he is phenomenal. We then have a few of the non-shapeshifter based ones. Militao coming in at a very hefty price, but very, very top end. Laporte from the Prem, I always include him because personally, one of the better SBCs that I've done for a centre-back, and there is a couple of more that I missed out on that definitely should be in this list, most definitely. We go on to the actual top. I personally think Carlos Alberto is a cracking card. Again, now we can move him into a centre-back compared to previous years. An absolutely brand new card. I liked him at right back, but at centre-back, he absolutely nails it. Vidic with, again, another Team of the Year upgrade, which is just beautiful as ever. I think they've done really well with the Berezes, the Nestors. I feel like Cannavaro definitely could have done with a bigger upgrade by now, as, again, another card that definitely could have been in. And obviously, Foot Birthday Desailly. We have Saliba, another great cheap centre-back option, obviously in the Prem, so you get the French links and the Prem links, and I think that works perfectly. We have 3 SBCs in the middle, with Ramos always being very, very meta. Body type, natural ability in-game has always proven him to be an absolute top card from FIFA 12 all the way up to FIFA 23. Kimpembe, obviously one of the newer meta cards that we've seen over the past year or two, and again this card still comes in at an absolute top level. And Arejo from predominantly this year, to be honest. His move to Barca has kind of led him into the limelight of FIFA, and he definitely smashes it from obviously this version, which is, well, was in the community team of the season. And then we have the back 5, including the goalkeeper. Diaz, incredible, very much, and to be honest, Marquinhos could potentially have made this list, but I do think Diaz is that sort of centre-back inclined, very defensive and physical orientated, with that extra bit of pace from the team of the season. But I do think he's one of my favourites from this year, especially in that Prem team of the season. Varane's obviously a little bit ahead of him with the pace side of stuff, but again, very, very meta, very much like Kimpembe. The French and Prem links are going to do you an absolute service. With the best three, I personally think De Ligt, Lucio, Maldini are impeccable. Lucio this year has just absolutely stormed it. One of the only centre-backs that personally for me has come really close from Maldini card to card. Like De Ligt's gold card isn't comparing to a base Maldini, a base Lucio hero. He just isn't. Whereas the team of the season definitely pushes them. I feel like he has definitely put himself in that running. And to be honest, I feel like you could probably pick any centre-back on this list, a pairing of two, a pairing of three, and you'd be pretty safe. There is better than others. I personally think if you've got Maldini, Lucio, you don't really need anybody else, but you could pair them up with anybody. A Maldini and a Kimpembe, a Maldini and a Becker and a Varane. They all work really well, and I think centre-backs is now at a point where you could probably get away with any of these centre-backs for pretty much the rest of the game unless they released a footies 98 Maldini that was 100k. Then obviously you'd upgrade, but until we get the footies and get the 98, 99, 97 cards, there's not really any need to change anything here. Now for the centre mids, CDMs and cams. We've actually got two different lists, so don't worry, this isn't all of them. It's just, there is a lot. We have had a great upgrade since the last time we did these centre mids that I physically couldn't miss out on a lot of them. So starting off, going back to basics, Yaya Toure, still incredible. Definitely is now looking for an upgrade, but to be honest, I think Yaya from just his normal World Cup could still play in a team. He wouldn't, again, be very, very meta, but he'd still give you what he got from before. Still very incredible and still very relevant. Obviously, Caicedo, great card. Unfortunately for him, he did come during the swaps team of the season, and he was in there with a pack during Prem team of the season. I've not really seen him too much from what I've looked at the second account when I've picked him. Very, very good card. The 3-star now slowly coming out of irrelevancy now though. I think it was mainly seeing a CDM with 90 pace, 89 defended and 90 physical at that point was absolutely brilliant. Now we've got a lot better cards. He's kind of slowly coming out of here, but still a very good option if you did choose him. We've got Vieira and Rodri. Vieira's always going to be very, very relevant. Obviously, they gave him the Trophy Titan, which pushed him back in there. As to be honest, I haven't really seen many base, mid, prime. We've not really seen any of it. Obviously, with the Trophy Titans, I've kind of had a handful of him in champs, but nothing too crazy. Rodri was impeccable for 123k or whatever the SBC was out at. That card is amazing. Just ignore the stats. If you've got him in your club, give him a go because he is absolutely brilliant. Hands down, a great CDM in the game. We have Renato Sanchez as honestly one of the best one-to-watches to hold price for so long. Now we've got the moments. Obviously, that one is a little bit banished now, but what a card this is. Everything above 90 with a chem style added. An impeccable card in the mid. We have Llorente, very much a cheap option now, but a 4-star with, again, stats that are just brilliant. 375k, you're never going to argue with that. Adeyemi's one of them ones I'm kind of half and half with. And I'll tell you why once we get to the players that are very similar. Because he's so attacking, obviously being a striker, it kind of worked for Benzema as a winter wildcard. But I do think now we've got everybody upgraded. It's good, but is it just a gimmick? Very much like the goalkeepers. I do think, I must admit, Milinkovic-Savic is incredible. If you've not done him, and I don't know if he is SBC available still, get him done because what a player. Could drop down, most definitely could lose the extra boost if they've given him that because most definitely they feel so much better than what they should do. But Adeyemi, I feel like, is one of them ones. If you're running a Dortmund side, a German side, a Bundes, he could definitely be put in depending on who you've got, but I wouldn't necessarily go out and say endgame centre mid 100%. Valverde, on the other hand, incredible team of the season. We don't need to say too much about him. We've kind of been waiting for this card personally. From his first player of the month, the first in form, you just knew when this card reaches the heights of 90 plus, he was always going to be amazing, which I think he has done. We have Xavi Simons, a great community, in fact, Eredivisie team of the season that we got. I do think now he is very much more of a super sub, if anything. I do think when we go to the next list, you'll see there is probably at least 5 cams that are just so good. We have got Roy Keane and Zambrotta, two other icons that have been upgraded. Zambrotta more recently with an SBC that is definitely worth doing. I would 100% try and get this grinded out because he is absolutely brilliant. Keane offers for me a great defensive and physicality role, and he may not be the prettiest player in the world, but he gets it done. I love the aggression. I love the actual in-game ability that he shows, and he is still one that you could get by with, and he's still an SBC for the next couple of days, I want to say. Pretty sure he's out soon. We have another shapeshifter in by Kraken CDM. He isn't necessarily your box-to-box, so this is why I have included CDM, centre mid, and cams, so it does go across the whole positions. If you run two box-to-boxes, he's not going to be that. He is a solid DM at the best, and definitely for the price, you're not going to argue. Kaka, I would have put, unfortunately, the newer version of him, but unfortunately that one doesn't have a 5-star, 5-star, which, beyond me, I don't know why. This is still the best version of Kaka you can get. 5-star, 5-star, 93 rated. Again, if you're running cams, he works really well. Centre mid-wise might be a little bit on the kind of lower side, but I do think as a cam, one of the better ones you can get. And finally on this list, for the moment, we've got Rabiot. Incredible. 4-star, 5-star, 500k. I'd say it's pretty relevant because we are going to go to the list now of very, very high-end cards. This is kind of your cheaper section that, again, will still do very, very well. Then we obviously have the monsters. So we're going to run through these because obviously the starting 11 is just price after price after price. Everything's a mill. You just can't escape the top level. Verratti's put on here as a kind of specific player. Very passing orientated. I like him just because he has that pace, the dribbling, the passing, as well as then the defending physical. He is almost that box-to-box that's very tricky. Could almost put him on a wing if he had a little bit more on that shooting. But obviously he is very good at his box-to-box role. We then have a few icons here in Matthias, Hullet, Seedorf, and obviously one of my favourites, Socrates, however you want to pronounce it. In terms of the top three there, Matthias is as natural, incredible. Obviously the full birthday version. Could have done with a 4-star skiller, but to be honest, even in a DM role, he's still not going to need it. Hullet's 9 mil. What do you expect from a card that's 9 mil? He's the best in the game. One of, if not the best for the price. Obviously, 9 mil is a hefty one, and you would always look for a cheaper option. If you don't pack him out of a Team of the Year icon pick, an icon whatever upgrade, then there's going to be fair few people that are going to actually go buy it outright just because 9 mil is very, very hard to come by. Seedorf is one of the cheaper options at 330. Obviously brand new to the game with a shapeshifter icon, and to be honest only gone from a cam in fact, to a CDM. They've made him that you could put a hunter on him and he's a beautiful box to box, or even go an anchor and just make him a solid DM. 4-star, 5-star as well, never going to argue. Socrates has gone from as well a cam to a CM this time, but a beautiful stat increase across the board. 610k, him and Zambrotta together are perfect. I have listed Upamecano in this. I didn't really find him to be one of the best, but just judging from all of the reviews, different people on Twitter going on about him, as well as then seeing him in quite a few teams, less and less as we go forward into the cams, I do think he's one of them ones, if he did the SBC, he's going to be a card that could provide some use for you. In terms of the team of the seasons we've got here, we've got Bernardo Silva as the cam. Even though he's a centre mid, he is always going to be a cam in my opinion. Definitely a slightly more cheaper version than what you can find in the Musialas, in the Dembeles, but still incredible. If we did manage to get a footage version of a 97-98 with a 5-5, that would be the best upgrade you could add to this card. We do have Pedri, Goretzka and Barella as our box-to-boxes. Obviously Pedri being the only one with a 5-5, which just adds so much value to this card. Unfortunately, he is lacking in his shooting and defending in comparison to the Barellas and the Goretzkas, but the 5-5 definitely makes up for some of it. If you go with a shadow, you can obviously get more defensive and kind of keeping him as almost an assisting sort of centre mid, or you go with something that gets both of them, to be honest, and just keep the same amount of pace. Obviously, we've got De Jong as an incredible DM. Obviously, again, a shapeshifter that has gone from centre mid to CDM. I think with De Jong as well, With obviously Socrates and Seedorf, at least they were cam, whereas De Jong was almost a box-to-box anyway. You can now whack a Hunter on him and make him a perfect box-to-box, or obviously keep him as a solid DM. The big thing with Conte coming out yesterday is the fact that the card looks immaculate. Like, a 96 Conte is going to be the vibes of what we know and love from Conte, but we didn't get him for that long. Obviously, it was 12, 13 days that you had to complete him. They have now extended that through to the end of August as well. So we now, instead of getting practically 2 weeks, we now get a solid 5 to 6 weeks to get him done, which is a big dub because this card is going to be worth the grind. But putting 1.5 million right now might be a little bit more on the hard side if you wanted to try and keep a lot of the team of the season's high rated fodder for icon packs, for anything that does come out that's not a player. We then have the full 11. To be honest, we've got Zidane here, which is just naturally incredible, as we know. Very much like a KDB, but obviously Zidane has that 5'5". Same sort of height-ish, Zidane a little bit more, but both of them have got a decent amount of defending and physical to get them by, even though I would consider them both to be pretty much cams in their own rights. We've got Kimmich as a cheap CDM, love him at 200k, never going to argue, and especially the Kimmich and Goretzka kind of combination has always been legendary through the team of the seasons. With our shapeshifter centre mids, Martial and Depay very, very similar in their own right. Martial coming in at 1.1 and Depay coming in at 4.13. Again, both of them are like the Adeyemi. They are gone from a striker, which is a very agile role, into adding the defence onto them. I personally like them in a very narrow 4-1-2-1-2 second variation, where you can have a solid DM, 2 centre mids that push up, and a cam. For instance, if you was to rock it as Kroos at the back, Dembele up top, and these two as almost a kind of a left mid and a right mid, but tucked in. Perfect positions for them. Obviously Dembele, one of the better cams that we've got now in the game at 6.4, a 5-star, 97 rated. We know how good this card is. Once he gets a special version on the right wing, it's incredible. Now he can play that kind of centre mid, centre forward position or cam. You just know how dangerous this card could be. Kroos is very much like Caicedo. He comes as well with an option of a big pack. So you've either got to choose a fodder pack or a 97 Kroos to go into your team. Very endgame material, 97 rated with a 5.5. Kroos is immaculate. I love his winter wildcard version, but it all depends on how your club is standing. Do you have one of these CDM centre mids or cams already in that role, or does Kroos just jump straight in? Because if he does jump straight in, you can get the fodder another time. You won't have another option at this Kroos, unfortunately. Modric, and to be honest, Modric and KDB, both on the cheaper side. We've got 410 and 300, but both of them add a different role to that centre mid / cam value. Obviously with Modric, I do find him more box to box, but without being perfect in either. He's not the best shooter on the game, and he's not the best tackler. He's kind of that passing centre mid, very much like how Xavi would have been with a 97 card. And obviously KDB is more of that cam and less of that defensive player. We then have Musiala as one of the better cams as well, just shy of 1 million coins. Obviously Dembele comes in, which, to be honest, both of them very similar in terms of their aspect, but obviously Dembele that little bit quicker, bit more on the shooting, bit more on the passing, so it is interesting to see the comparison between them two. Bellingham is still one of my favourite centre mids in the game. He is just incredible. His box-to-box mentality is perfect. The dribbling's agile, the 5-star weak foot, the pace, the defending, the physical. He is just absolutely dynamite in that midfield. And then finally, I don't normally like putting 2 different versions of cards in. For instance, we had the Team of the Year Virgil there, but obviously being a CDM that's 98 and 6.3 mil, we cannot miss him. But if you don't have him or don't have the coins to get him, the centre-back is more than needed if you wanted to go into a centre-back version instead. We then have some wingers that are, again, absolutely brilliant. In terms of the kind of bottom here, we've got some of the cheaper options. Umtiti I threw in here as an extra little value, just in case. I don't know actually if the SBC's gone, as we did complete him and do a review on him. He's interesting in the fact that he's, 6 foot as a left wing with a great boost across every stat in that attacking environment. A 5-star, 4-star that did really well in the review, but I would say I'd say he's a super sub at best. Maybe you could put him as almost like a left mid, left wing. I don't feel like he could really venture too much in the middle with the defendant being so low. So he is kind of them ones that I think he's a bit of a fun card rather than necessarily endgame. Royce, Saka, Rodrigo, all coming from Team of the Season. Obviously, Royce was an SBC, so there isn't no chance of getting him unless you are obviously doing the New Year in review player picks. Then obviously he is one of them that is mentioned in that, especially as an SBC also, which a striker, left wing cam, he could work in all of them positions. Saka is just brilliant for the price that he is. Very, very quick down that wing, and at 270, you can never argue if you don't have the full wax to go and get a Bruno, a Salah, a Neymar. It's fair enough that that is an impeccable price, whereas obviously Saka is that cheaper option. Rodrigo, probably a bit more expensive purely for the fact that he was in community and nothing really kind of flared up until we got into the major leagues of Prem, then obviously Liga and La Liga, so he kind of is a bit more expensive than what I would personally pay for him. Jarzinho, Best, Beckham, all of them in their own right are the best versions of themselves. Obviously that is kind of the whole point of these new icons. Instead of just getting a moments where everybody got a 1 or 2 upgrade, we're now seeing Beckham finally being meta in some aspects. Obviously centre mid, still can play that right mid, right wing role if obviously you are playing it correctly. He's not necessarily like your Georgie Best or Jarzinho's where he can get around everybody, but he is much better at it than he is with his prime or obviously his mid. Then obviously Links comes into it. A great card. I think it was just one of them random objectives that came out that anybody could finish. Winning 3 matches in any game mode, scoring 8 and assisting 6. So easy to complete, but the big thing with him, very much like Frankowski, very quick, but also a premium shapeshifter, which means doesn't matter if you have no Ligans, no South Africans, you can get a full chem straight away with him, which I think is a great addition to what we're seeing with this new chem style. Richarlison had to be added, a brand new 5-star, 400,000 coins, again a medium sort of value in comparison to what we've got in that starting 11, and I think in general, nice card, great pace increase, shooting's good, dribbling's good. It's a 5-5. He has to be added into this list. Sonny Baby, 240. I just can't believe how cheap he actually is. I personally played with him a handful of times over the Prem, and I didn't really see anything wrong with him, so I don't get why he's so cheap this year. I know there is a great spread across midfielders, wingers, strikers, defenders. There's a lot of options that are not just a starting 11. You could always add the 99 Pele at left wing, the Salah at right wing. You could always kind of pick an 11 of the best. But even if you was to go, say, I could pick Neymar, Pele, Bruno, Leao, all of them would offer the same advantage. Obviously some have different game styles, but all of them offer a very elite level of game, and I think Son still offers that. Diaby, another great one that's come through from his road to the final into obviously this team of the season. Unfortunately, no 4-star weak foot from him, which again is a bit of a shame, but as a super sub, as obviously a French player, you're always going to get a very good pace from him, which is exactly why he's not necessarily the cheapest on the market, but he's also not hitting millions and millions of coins. We then start onto this list here, which is impeccable in its own right. We've got, let's see prices wise, we've got Rashford at 2.6, as we know, can play a striker or left wing, so very, very good there. Vinny's more of my left wing at 3.5. The 5.5 is incredible. Ronaldinho, obviously extinct or pretty much extinct at 15 mil, which is just crazy in itself. We then have Shapeshifter, Van Persie and Eto'o. Both of them in their own right are incredible. You can obviously change them in game as a striker, and I think both of them still are impeccable as both. Right wing, I really enjoyed Van Persie's left foot. Obviously Eto'o's right wing and left wing can kind of correspond with the foot that's inside, so his right wing is left-footed, his left wing is right-footed, so you have that option and that difference with him. Obviously Van Persie's other version is a cam, so I personally prefer the right wing with him. I think the pace, the shooting, everything about him was amazing. We then had Kvaratskhelia and also Leao as two incredible left wings that both of them are impeccable in their own right. Neymar's Neymar, we don't really need to go too much into him. Same with Pele, 12.2 mil as the only 99 rated card on the game at the moment. Fantastic. Salah is actually one of the cheaper options, which I really didn't see. Obviously with the new chem style, it kind of makes you have to use some Prem players, but to be honest, there is an Egyptian manager now, and obviously you could just go and whack a couple of Liverpool players in there. That's where Virgil could come really in handy. Plus obviously the end of era Firmino, or obviously Milner can definitely get into the team. And then finally, Bruno as a left wing, was kind of hoping for a striker so I could drop him back a little bit, but obviously as a left wing, still got a massive upgrade that I think in the centre would prove very, very worthy. We then have the strikers. Again, like the midfielders, we have got a couple of pages for these because there is so many that offer such good value. Di Natale for me is still incredible in his own right. Obviously his hero lasted quite a while in the Serie A, and I do think the fantasy foot puts himself again back in a top striker spot. We then have Ibra and Isaac in this role. Obviously both of them mean Swedish, very unique sort of strikers at 6'4" and 6'5". Obviously Ibra has kept himself a great value because we've not had another one yet, and Isaac is very, very cheap, but both of them offer such a good bonus in that striker role. The physicality presence, the great amount of dribbling, even being at the height they are, I think they both are phenomenal finishes in the game. We have Alvarez as obviously a future star, one of my favourites of all time. Definitely dropping down a little bit now in terms of value from other strikers in the game, but I still think even if you've got him now, he will definitely do a number in that striking role. We have Jesus from the community, 1.2 mil, very much like Rodrigo, probably not packed as much as kind of the most or the big bulk of Team of the Season cards, because it was the first one. A lot of people keeping packed for the Prem, for Liga and for La Liga, so 1.2 is nice. I wouldn't necessarily spend 1.2 on him. I think he's a great card. I don't think his value is over a mil, but he still would give you a great result if you do have him red pick or obviously packed him in the community. Ginola in himself, 92 rated. I'm hoping we do get Footy's icons and heroes because I want a 98 Ginola again. We got it last year for Shapeshifter. Unfortunately, the fantasy foot came out just before obviously Team of the Season, so it was very unlikely we see a Shapeshifter as well, but definitely a higher version of Ginola would be impeccable once more. We then have Czech, who again is just stupidly good. Again, with these keepers, I feel like they've got to drop them at some point. They just feel so much better than what the card actually says. So I'm interested to see in a week or 2 weeks' time where we're kind of sitting with these cards, because a lot of these outfield goalkeepers are incredible, and it's just nothing you can do about it. Obviously, his SBC's under 200k, so you'd be stupid not to at least give him a try. We then go on to the final list of strikers. In the bottom section, we've obviously got the icons that we know about. Delpy, Dalglish, obviously in their own right, as not bad strikers, but once we had the Trophy Titans, which both got 5-star, 5 stars, you knew that that was the next level up. They're not necessarily top 5 or top 4 strikers, but they're just underneath your Cruyffs, your Eusebios, your Puskasses, obviously your R9s, and I think that is incredible to see a new wave of strikers that you could put in. Dalglish could, well, I think he still plays in the team now, so you can kind of see where the value of these extra icons are. Vitinha's kind of just chilling in there a little bit, even though I could argue more left wing depending on what strikers you've got. His pace up front was absolutely immaculate, so left wing would be an absolute doddle for him. It would totally depend on if you have any of these strikers compared to what Vitinha could do in your team. We then have a few of the Team of the Seasons here in Ben Yedder, who is just always incredible and obviously very cheap as well. And Kunku's coming in at a hefty price at 2.7, but still, the 5.5, the 95 Frenchman is class in game. Same as Griezmann, pretty much gold in forms for the last like 5-6 years, have never touched teams. The moment he gets a Team of the Season, a Footies, he is absolutely extraordinary. The real upgrade of him just sends him absolutely incredible. We then have Lacazette and also Sanchez. Both of them are roughly around about the same sort of price, and again offer that great striker role. One of my favourites though from recent has got to be this 5-star Mahrez. He is brilliant. He just naturally takes that striker role and makes it his own. A 5.5, great pace, incredible shooting upgrade, as well as dribbling and passing. He is just impeccable at 1.8, which then takes us to the final 11. Obviously, we'll talk about the final 6 in a second, but Neuer, again, very much like Czech, still offers such a good role in that striker, but I would like to see in 2 weeks' time, are we still singing the same tune? Osimhen, and obviously Benzema. Both of them a little bit more expensive than I thought they would have dropped to by now. Benzema's obviously incredible in his own right, and I think Osimhen is the same as well. Obviously, we've got 6'1 and 6'1, 5-star, 4-star, and a 4-star, 5-star. They're just opposite in everything, but still tall, even with the stockier build, still incredible at that pace, and their shooting is delightful. And then obviously the two cheaper options in Harry Kane, who is an absolute steal. You've got to give him a go. And don't just through ball onto everything. Give it to his feet, make him do a dribble, maybe go for a little bit of a slightly lesser through ball, and just see how you go with him, because genuinely the shooting on him is insane. Lewandowski is very similar in that aspect. I do find him not necessarily worse than Kane, because I do think both of them are on the same sort of level, but you've got to play with them differently. Lawan's not really going on to through balls, but he can outpace some people if you get the strides right, and if you can get that strike in front of goal. 99 finishing ain't missing if you're hitting it right. And then we obviously have the mega stars. The Haaland, who is the best Prem striker you can get. CR7 with his moments, which again gives us that 96 Ronaldo back. Messi and obviously Garrincha as well, both being 98 strikers. Very agile on the ball, both being 5'7", and both of them are impeccable as a striker. And then my favourite two, which I think is a lot of people's, Mbappe team of the season and R9. They both come in at a hefty price of 8 million upwards, but both of them will give you everything of a cheat code almost in this game, because striker-wise, I don't think there's much better. So let me know down below if you agree with most of these players. If there's anybody that I missed out, make sure you drop a comment down below. Check the video on screen, and I'll catch you all for the next one. Peace.